The Dating Game is the 13th episode of the 6th season of Full House. This is directed by Joel Zwick. And as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And it's a pretty decent episode. It starts off quite sweetly with Michelle, Nicky and Alex sweeping. Rather adorable. Not a bad way to start things off. And then we have two parts of the narrative, but both involve potential first dates. So I'll talk about Joey first, and then I'll talk about Stephanie. Joey wants to ask out Alison, who of course works at the radio station, and he's nervous about this, but Jessie gives him a bit of a boost, and he asks her over to dinner. And, well, it's a bit chaotic. All of the adults are there, and Danny is making his turkey in a boot for Vicky, and Joey is about to serve the salad, and he throws it all over Alison in a great comedic performance. Really fantastic. Very, very well done. And it turns out that, first of all, we learn that Vicky didn't like Danny's turkey in a boot. He made it for her on their first date, and of course she didn't want to hurt his feelings and say, oh, this is disgusting. So she said she really liked it, and of course she never corrected that. Why would she? And now Danny thinks that she loves it. So I don't know what the message there is. I don't think she should have said on the first date, by the way, I don't like your turkey in a boot. I think maybe the lesson there is that if somebody tells you they like your cooking on the first date, don't take it to mean it's their favourite dish, because there's a good chance that they're just being polite about the situation. I think that's a good takeaway from that. Michelle then comes downstairs. There's food everywhere because Joey dropped the turkey in a boot. And Michelle tells Alison that Joey has the hots for you, to quote Michelle. And we find out that Alison didn't even think this was a date. She just thought she was being invited over to dinner, which I have to say is maybe a little bit naive of her. If somebody invites you over for dinner, there's a good chance they think it's a date, or at least with some kind of romantic interest. Obviously, having dinner with the whole family isn't necessarily a date, but there definitely is a romantic reason behind that. So I think maybe, yes, Joey could have been a bit clearer, but Alison really was quite naive. And Jessie gave this lovely speech to Alison about how much he values Joey, and it was so sweet, so well written, really well delivered. And it turns out that, and I like this, Alison has just been in a relationship, she just needs more time. And I like that she wasn't just completely rejecting Joey once she had a couple of minutes to come to terms with the fact that Joey thought this was a date. And I think everything was ultimately handled really well, and it was nice that by the end of it, Joey wasn't completely crushed. So I think everything worked out well. Then we come to Stephanie. Stephanie and Josh are wanting to have pizza. Josh is played by David Loren, and I rather like this moment as well. All of the adults are busy. They have plans, so they can't drive Stephanie and Josh to get pizza. So Steve suggests that since he and DJ are going for pizza, Stephanie and Josh can tag along on the ride. I love that it was Steve who suggested that. He really is a good guy, and I rather enjoyed that. And Stephanie then realises that this must be a first date. And she's panicking, wondering what to wear, how to act. Kimmy tries to help her, which is great fun. I loved Kimmy in this, as is usually the case. And Josh comes over, and he's talking with Steve while Stephanie is finishing getting ready. And we, the viewer, learn that Josh doesn't think this is a date. It's just going out for pizza. And that's when things get a little bit awkward, because we are then at the pizza place. We are in the booth with Stephanie and DJ and Josh and Steve, and Stephanie starts to get a little bit too close to Josh, coming on maybe a little bit more strongly than she should be. Josh is on the floor at one point, which was brilliant, and it's a very comedic scene, but I think it's very easy to feel Stephanie's embarrassment as well at how awkwardly things are going, and DJ tries to help things out, but she doesn't really make much of a difference. And at the end of the night, Stephanie kisses Josh, and Stephanie obviously goes into the house upset, and Josh is just baffled. His confusion at the whole situation is quite funny, because he very clearly did not think of this as a date, and it's almost like he doesn't know what to say or do, and he's very confused with Stephanie acting like this. And Stephanie is then in her room, and DJ has a heart-to-heart with her, and it's a really sweet moment. And she says, and I absolutely love this, because Stephanie points out, but you and Steve kiss. And DJ said, Steve and I do it because we want to, not because we're supposed to, which I love. And I think that's just a beautiful message. It sums it up completely. Stephanie felt like she had to kiss Josh because that's what you're supposed to do, and I'm putting that in air quotes, on a first date. And she felt this pressure to behave a certain way and perform a certain way. And if she just behaved like herself, maybe Josh might actually start to feel like he wants to date her, because clearly he likes her. He clearly thinks she's a nice person and a really good friend, and in time that can potentially become romantic. But if you start acting strangely and sniffing somebody, it's not necessarily going to go in the way that Stephanie wanted. And it was a lovely moment, and the three sisters end with an adorable hug, and it's really, really sweet. It's also quite interesting to see, with this season, Stephanie's getting closer to DJ, or they have more things in common with DJ, whereas in previous seasons, DJ was starting to get a little older, but Stephanie was still closer to Michelle. They would still play games together, they still had understandably quite a young outlook, whereas Stephanie is now crossing back over to having more in common with DJ, which is really, really lovely to see. And all things considered, I think it's a great episode. Absolutely no complaints. The dating game is pretty fantastic, and ultimately a decent episode of Full House.